National Fishermen and Pacific Marine Expo are proud supporters of the Galley Stories podcast, as we make similar efforts to highlight the people and topics that define commercial fishing. You can see what that looks like in print and online all year long, as well as every November in Seattle, when this community comes together at PME. Check out nationalfisherman.com and pacificmarineexpo.com to learn more.
Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by Alaska Brewing Company out of Juneau, Alaska. Go check out their new Wild Ness beer. Launched on March 1st, any place that you got a good retailer near you or your favorite watering hole. Here we go.
Hello and welcome to Galley Stories, stories of the Bering Sea and beyond, hosted by Mark Kaler. My name is Penka Jane, podcast deckhand and longtime listener. We'd thank you to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Here's today's catch.
Hello guys, and welcome to another installment of Galley Stories, stories of the Bering Sea and beyond. I am your host, Mark Kaler. Today we have Captain Pete Arnestad with us. How you doing today, Pete?
Very good, Mark. Very good. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for taking the time. You know, it's funny, we're both Alaska people, or at least for our jobs, and here we are sitting in Maine. But what a connection.
Yes.
So, Pete, let's dive into it. Where were you born at, and what was your first introduction into commercial fishing?
Born in Everett, Washington. My dad was a mill worker, and my mom was a homemaker. Just modest North Everett upbringing. And, so I guess my first introduction to fishing would have been riding my Stingray down to the dock and catching bullheads off the Everett, and where all the great boats were from southeast, and the seiners, they were all down there, gill netters, and we were just kind of just fishing away, just being kids, and I saw all that, and that impressed me. Maybe someday I could do that. Yeah.
How did you work into that then? And how old were you at this time?
I was about 10, and then before we could kind of go out on our own, and friend of the family, Ronnie Erickson, he's introduced me to fishing. He bought a little boat called the Climax, a little bow picker, and I went out with him for a couple of times in Puget Sound and got the bug pretty early. About from 10 to 12, I'd go out with him in the summers and fish with him.
Bow picker, meaning the net came off the front?
Yes.
And that was for salmon?
That was for salmon in Puget Sound, and we have deeper nets than the Bristol Bay, but we didn't catch much, but it was always kind of turned me on to fishing, even though we didn't catch much.
This is when you were 10 and 12 years old?
Yeah, I was really
So were
young.
you getting paid?
No, not at that point. But a little later on, I got a cruise share. I cut my teeth in Puget Sound, so Puget Sound used to be a great training ground for Bristol Bay. Now it's not really much of a viable fishery anymore, but back in the 70s and early 80s, it was kind of a big deal. The Bolt decision kind of took that away from us, but
What was that?
that was that treaty deal where the tribes got half of the run, half of the harvestable fish in the U.S., Washington area for salmon and shellfish and everything. So that kind of cut the pie up a little bit.
Is that what moved you to Alaska, or how did that progression work?
Yeah. I got my own boat in '76 when I was 16 years old, and it was a little Bristol Bay double ender, ironically, with a little drum on it and a little 4-cylinder gray marine, and I fished that 2 years. Did pretty good.
Wait, in Bristol Bay?
No, in Puget
Okay.
Sound.
All right, okay.
Fished that for 2 years. it was an old sailboat they converted to power. So yeah, chugged along with that for a couple years, and then saved enough money to build me a really nice bow picker for Puget Sound in '78. Named it the Sockeye Toomey. Sockeye, the fish, Toomey. Yeah, and it had a 454, and I was a hot shot with that thing. For about 6 years, I fished that
In
Puget
Sound.
Sound.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, in the early '80s, I got a crew job when I wasn't fishing Puget Sound for Kenai Packers. I got on with this guy Ralph Perigue on a shore boat, no drum, and that was my first experience in Bristol Bay. I just wanted to go really bad, and I had to get in somehow, so I was kind of desperate, and I just kind of jumped in with this guy Ralph Perigue. It was a strike year that year, and we didn't catch much, but what I knew is this place, the nets are shallow. There's a lot more fish than Puget Sound. No junk, no sport boats. It was heaven. I knew I could do really well there.
When you say shore boat, can you explain that a little bit?
Shore boat is an aluminum gill netter that they made them in Canada, and they probably built 100 of them. And it was a brand, Shore. So, yeah. So I just fished on that boat one year, and then went to the next year. So my cousin Joel Ludwig bought a wood boat called the Stanvik, and his first year we did really, really well. And that would have been '92. And fished with him 2 years, and then I got my own boat. Yeah.
What was your own boat?
I worked in a worked in a boat shop, Arlington, American Commercial Marine, and learned how to fiberglass and do boat outfitting, everything minus kind of setting the engine, and some of that stuff I couldn't do, but me and my friend Marv Hugan had built this boat, Lucky Strike, and then I had a brand new boat. Went in partners with my brother.
You built it yourself?
Yeah, well, we bought the hull and cabin, and then outfitted it from there. Just a shell, and then you outfit it, and after 3 months of working every day, you eventually get it done. Yeah. So, yeah, first year, number 3 for Trident. It was a pretty big deal. Chuck Budrick called me lucky stuff or something, and then I did good the next year, and he didn't bug me after that. But he thought I was really lucky that first year. But I had a pretty good work ethic by that time. I was in my early 20s, so I knew how to grind. Yeah. So I think my first year I had 188, and that's now that back then you didn't have bow thrusters, you didn't have flush deck, you didn't have powerful hydraulics. It was just little dinky Vickers V20 pump, and you couldn't like power tow anything. And that's when the North Line you could really do well at Igigik on the North Line. There was a few boats I could mention that were. There's this one guy I always say invented the North Line in Igigik, and that's Paul Moslep on the Pinnacle. But there were some other guys too, Lauren Kay, Larry Vanderlyn, and guy on the Steinbit, Petersburg guys kind of invented that North Line fishery. Probably a lot of you folks out there don't really know what I'm talking about, but it's real tight fishing, major amounts of fish, just waves of fish. Like you could set your gill net and get 5,000 pounds in 2 minutes. And then you just pick and try to get up front again. Yeah.
All getting back in line?
Yeah, getting back in front again. Of course, you know, the cops are there, the troopers, and they're watching everything real close. But I got to be real good at that over the years, fishing the North Line. I mean, we fished the whole area, but you could always go to the North Line and bail out your opening. It seemed like, even if you had a slow start to your opening, on the flood, on the ebb, you usually finish on the ebb. So if you struck out early, you could kind of make up for it. The North Line, now they don't give you the time there at the end of the ebb.
What kind of time were they giving you back in the 90s?
We would get 10, 12-hour openers.
So that gave you time if you weren't in a good spot to move.
Yeah.
What was the speed of your boat then at that time?
I think it was 8 knots. Yeah, not fast, not slow. Good boat though, fiberglass. I had 24,000 on it once. That's pretty good.
All above the deck.
Yeah, yeah. I could get 16 under the boards, under the hatches, and then 8 on deck. So I had 24. That's the most I ever had on that boat. But yeah, it's.
How did it progress?
So it progressed. Fished that boat 8 years. Kind of maxed out what I could do with that boat.
This is late 90s now.
Yeah, we're at 92 now.
Okay.
And so I had a good season in 91. Put in an order for a Kviak gill netter built in Seattle, Ballard area. Actually right by the Fremont Bridge. That's where their shop was. And they built 6 of them that year. And they packed 20 under the boards, and they had a bow thruster, and they had refrigeration, and all this modern flush deck, all this modern entities, comfortable, nice shower. Yeah, that was a good boat. There were 6 of them built that year. They're all still fishing. They're all still really good boats.
What'd you name her?
Highball. Yeah.
What's her name now?
Now it's a West Shore. Yeah. Now it's the West Shore. All those boats have turned over 2 or 3 times, but they're still a good value for young guys getting in. Good boat to buy. Good main, those lugger, 460 horse. Good motors. Good boat. Good for me. I fished that 25 years. Had some really big seasons. Yeah, it was the prime of my career from 92 to, see, I got this new one in 18. So, yeah, 25, 26 years.
Tell us about the new one.
So now I got a new one. It's a Maverick. Real similar, but faster, more comfortable, and a better sea boat. But real laid out almost the same as the old one, but just in every way better. Chills fish better, bigger refrigeration system. Yeah, my first year with that, I had my best year ever. I don't know if I want to throw numbers around, but it was pretty good. Paid for the boat in 1 year. Yeah, so,
really good. Really good. So, looking back, what would you say has been your best time on the water?
Probably, watching my daughter Katie develop as a skipper in her own right. She's been 3 years now, and she bought a nice used Curry, and she's really proud of her. She's done real well.
Well, let's back that up. How did she get started?
She,
I mean, we'll hear that from her later, but how did
she crewed for me?
In your mind, how did she get started?
She had to go with me to make money. I kind of forced her. Yeah, well, I didn't force her, but kind of worked out. She started with me when she was 17, and she fished with me for 16 years, and she was amazing deckhand. Not just because she's my daughter, she just was. She took to it and really gave it everything she had. Her God-given ability, she took it to the max.
So your best time on the water is seeing your daughter develop?
Yeah, that, and after a good opening and a nice sunset, maybe just reveling in the grandeur of it all. Sunsets and, a good meal, take a break, on the anchor. Yeah, that's always good. If you don't have any boat work to do or net work. In Bristol Bay, there's always something, it seems like. There's always something to fix on your boat or a hole to patch in your net. But there's those rare times where you can relax. That's the beautiful part.
What would you say is your worst time on the water?
I've had a lot of those. Web in the wheel, web in my wheel, my net in somebody else's wheel, maybe drifting down on a ship. You kind of fell asleep for a little bit on the drift and waking up in a panic. Yeah, those are not fun. It's like in Bristol Bay. Sometimes it's like being a fireman. You just never know when you're going to get that call, and it can happen pretty quick. You can be in a jackpot.
Any close calls or Coast Guard calls or?
Oh yeah, I think we've all had a few of those. Yeah. Some I'm not too proud of, but yeah, close calls. Yeah, a lot of close calls. But close is only, what do they say? Horseshoes and hand grenades. Yeah.
All right, let me rephrase it. Let me put it a different way. What is the most scared you've ever been while on the ocean?
Yeah. Probably when I was on a drift and I woke up from the drift and I was coming down on a ship, and we started towing the net, and I was really close to the bow of this big tramper in the Y and Naknek, and just got around it, but it was pretty scary. I would have to say that. And just scared for people. You hear, I've never experienced it, but somebody falling over, and
we lost two this year.
One guy I actually personally knew, a real experienced guy, young guy, new family guy, got a new kid. Yeah, they just found his Crocs floating. Yeah, it's a dangerous thing, but yeah, we just kind of persevere and get ready for the next season, do it again,
And I want to point out here, when Pete's talking about the trampers, in the earlier days especially, there was a lot of great big, you'd almost think of them as cargo ships, right?
Mhm.
To put it in perspective, if you're watching the King Kong, the big containers that they had him in, right?
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
would be the size of ship he's talking about.
Yeah, like a King Kong. Yeah, about that big. And yeah, the tides run really strong, and yeah, it happens really fast. So you can put your head down for a couple minutes, and then the whole world changes.
And you intentionally drift, right? You intentionally set your net out, and you've got time, so you're gonna take a little break. Let your net.
Yeah. Sometimes you close your eyes and they don't open for a while. Yeah,
Because you've been up
that's not good.
too long.
Yeah, sometimes 2 days. Yeah, you get pretty tired. Drink lots of coffee. Yeah, turn up the music. Get outside and try to get some air. But yeah, it's hard to stay up sometimes.
So over the years, Pete, what has the sea given to you?
It's given me everything. It's given me a good way to make a living, and just enable me to kind of live the lifestyle I want to live, active lifestyle that I live, and you can get your money made in basically 2 months fishing and about a month of gear work at home. So 3 months. 3 months on, 9 months off. That's not that bad. Of course, I got other stuff going, but if you just look at that part of it, that's pretty sweet.
What is it taking away? What is the sea taking away from you?
I don't think it's taken away anything. I'm grateful to have had the chance to do it. I found my niche early in life and ran with it. So I'd say nothing, me personally. It's given me everything.
Any advice for people getting into the industry?
My number one advice would be to not overcapitalize. Just get in a starter boat and get your feet wet before you spend the big money. See if it's what you really want to do.
See if it's in your blood.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Pete, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. Do you have anything else you'd like to cover? Any other stories you'd like to share?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you so much, Mark.
That's it? That's all you're going to give me?
Can you, jump back in there? Let me think about it a little bit. I got to eat one of these.
We just got some bacon wrapped scallops delivered here to the table.
So, what was the question again?
Anything else you'd like to share?
Oh, okay.
This is your moment.
My moment.
We all get a few of those in life.
Keep setting. If you want to be a commercial fisherman, you can't be afraid of hard work, and keep setting.
I think that works in everything, right? Not just fishing. You got to
You're right.
keep putting the net out, right?
Keep putting the net out. Keep
Boy.
bringing it back. Like my friend says, if I can set the net and if I can pick the net, everything will work out. You got to set the net out and bring the net in. As long as you can do that,
Boy,
you're good.
what? That works in everything in life, though, right?
Yeah.
That's a perfect place to finish it. Pete, I can't thank you enough for coming. That's really great.
Thank
If you
you
can
so
set
much.
it and you can pick it, it's going to be a great day. It really is for anything in life.
Yes. Yeah.
If you start school and you finish it, you got ahead, right? If you
That's it. You gotta walk through that. Well, I used to tell my kids, one's a nurse and one's a dental hygienist. Keep walking through that door. One of these days is going to be the last time, and then you're going to have your certificate. You're going to be able to move on with your life. So just keep walking through that door.
let's keep walking through that door, guys. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Instagram. Also, we do have a gear store up now. Just follow us and find that. Buy a sweatshirt. hat, something. Appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time.
Wow.
Thanks for listening to Galley Stories. We hope you like what the net brought in. Please leave us a review on iTunes, whether you like it or not. We're not fishing for compliments. Look us up on Facebook and Twitter too, and reach out to us at galleystories@gmail.com.